What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. And I know I said I would be uploading a video of some Riley Mills tape study this afternoon, but I think we're going to have to push that back to this evening, probably sometime around 6, maybe like 5, but probably around 6, because I think this is going to take priority for at least one video. So yeah, we got to talk about this. Obviously, this is not directly impacting the Seattle Seahawks, but it is certainly indirectly impacting the Seattle Seahawks and one of their division rivals. So, a few minutes ago, we got the word from several sources, including Tom Pelissaro here on X. The 49ers and quarterback Brock Purdy have agreed to terms on a 5-year, $265 million contract extension per his agent. 181 is guaranteed, including 165 million in the first 3 new years of a deal that runs through 2030. So the extension itself is a 5-year deal of $53 million a year on average, with a large majority of that money being guaranteed. So certainly a committing move on the part of the 49ers to make Brock Purdy their franchise quarterback for, at the very least, the next several years. You're probably looking at like 3 minimum, realistically more like 4, and possibly beyond that. So obviously there's a lot that goes into a decision like this. There are a lot of considerations to make, but personally, as a Seahawks fan, I'm just going to say it. I love it. I love knowing that this 49ers team is going to be working with Brock Purdy as their quarterback for the foreseeable future, knowing his obvious and clear limitations as a player. Probably, and I know that some people won't agree with my take here, probably restricting that Kyle Shanahan offense back a little bit from what it could be under a truly elite and dynamic talent. Now, obviously, there's a higher floor with a guy like a Brock Purdy. Sometimes you chase the super talented and super dynamic quarterback and you end up with Trey Lance, who couldn't do anything. Purdy offers stability well above that. But I feel like there's a little bit of a low ceiling now as well, especially given that, I mean, that arm, man, it's already weak. It was weak to begin with, and now it keeps getting hurt. He's one more shoulder injury away from having a complete noodle. So as a Seahawks fan, I really like this. And I know that you lose the upside, or, okay, from a Seahawks perspective, the upside of them chasing that elite quarterback and completely striking out. But I will live with that. I will live with that over I will live with that if it means knowing this Niners team is going to live or die on the arm of Brock Purdy going forward, because it's not much of an arm. There are some good attributes to Purdy, of course, but I mean, his play was not particularly strong for a good chunk of last season. Without the super team around him, without the greatest talent in the world around him, he played kind of okay. Not anything overwhelmingly special. And it's not like the team around him was bad. It's not like his circumstances were bad. They just weren't excellent anymore. So as a Seahawks fan, I am down with this. So if you look at the contract itself, however, I will also admit this. So first thing to understand is this is an extension, which means it's a additional 5-year deal on top of the contract he already had. That's implied. And he had 1 year left on his previous deal at a cap hit of about 5.3 or, well, 5.4 million, let's call it, right? So this keeps him in San Fran, or at least on a contract running through the next 6 years total. And when you factor in that 6th year at barely over 5 million, the actual value of this deal is 270 over 6 years. That's actually a little bit more palatable, admittedly, right? That's a little bit more acceptable for a starting quarterback in this league. And honestly, you take a look at the top APY contracts in the NFL right now for quarterbacks, It's not even, even if you just take the extension, it's not top 5. Dak is way more. Jordan Love is more. Joe Burrow is more. Josh Allen's more. Trevor Lawrence is more. Tua's $100,000 more, and it's the same size as Jared Goff's. So in terms of the comparison, it's actually pretty darn understandable why this would happen. Like, his deal, APY-wise, just the extension, is about the same as Tua and Jared Goff. I think that as of right now, and this could change depending on Purdy's arm strength going forward, if his arm strength tanks, then we may be having a different conversation, but I think he's about as good as Tua or Goff. I think they're both, all three of them are decent quarterbacks that you can win with, but you're not necessarily going to win because of. So I guess on that level, it's a fair, reasonable deal. The guarantees are where it becomes pretty interesting because according to this tweet, 181 million is guaranteed. That is more than any of these other contracts. It's more guaranteed than Dak or Love or Burrow or Allen or Lawrence. The only guy who has bigger guarantees on this list, according to this chart, is Deshaun Watson, and his contract was fully guaranteed. Now, I thought that, honestly, I thought Dak's was pretty much fully guaranteed too. I don't know what happened here. I was under the impression he set the record for guarantees when he signed his deal last year, but according to this, it's not. But if that's not the case, then, yeah, you actually have almost borderline record-setting guarantees on the Purdy deal. So that's a little bit of an anchor, potentially, if he doesn't end up panning out the way they're hoping. It's much harder to get out of a deal with 181 million guaranteed compared to, say, the 93 million guaranteed on Tua. So that introduces a wrinkle. And, I mean, you take a look at this QB list. The quarterbacks that are above the average annual value of Purdy's deal, Prescott, Love, Burrow, Allen, Lawrence, well, at least the top 4 guys are certainly better than Purdy. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is better than Purdy at this point. He certainly has higher potential. He has far more upside, that's for sure. I don't know if he's actually better. So it's not hard to paint a picture of making this deal pretty bad because you got Justin Herbert, you got Lamar Jackson, both those guys clearly better than Purdy. And you can kind of see how the quarterback pay metric rubric kind of breaks down as you scroll, because some of these guys got paid years ago. Look at Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is getting paid $45 million a year, same as Kirk Cousins, who is currently sitting on the bench. Only $5 million more than, or, well, Derek Carr still is on this list, actually. I probably shouldn't even talk about him, but only $7.5 million more than a guy like Derek Carr, who, I mean, I don't think I need to go into more detail about that. So, to a certain extent, the timeline makes this stuff break down a little bit when you're trying to draw comparisons. But what I will say is that I think that Purdy is on that Tua or Goff level. So him getting paid at their level, understandable. Maybe the additional guarantees changes the consideration a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, as a Seahawks fan, I'm pretty content. I like this. Yes, Purdy can play, but I don't think he's going to get much better than he currently is. I think he's kind of a decent system quarterback, and I can live with that in my division for the next 5-6 years. See you guys later. Go Hawks.